Okay, and we are live. Welcome to Career Lounge Live, helping you be a greater you. And this lounge is designed to help middle and high school students to prepare for the life after school. Failing to plan, like they say, is planning to fail. And today's topic is charting your course. Invite your friends to the Facebook group. If you're already a member, you know what to do. Tag them in this live. If you are catching us replay here in the Facebook group or in YouTube, chat in the chat box, hashtag replay. So we know that you are connected. That's very important. So while we wait, if others are going to join, please let us know where you're watching, say hi so we know that you are here. We want to know where you are tuning in from. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box so we can answer those questions to you. And we want to give special thanks to Career Lounge Live sponsor, EXL is a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. If you want to learn more about EXL, you need to go to www.exlservice.com. So we want to thank our sponsors for today's, because of them, we are bringing this lounge to you at no cost. So thank you so much once again for being here with us, even if you're live or if you're watching the replay. So don't forget, you need to invite your friends to the Facebook group or share this live with them, because this is a value information that we want to bring to you. Okay, so my name is Dali Perez. I'm with L.O.V.E Youth, and L.O.V.E Youth is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing programs for youth throughout Central Florida. Our mission is to encourage every one of you, the youth, to embrace your self-worth and values life lessons in order to maximize your potential. So today understands the decision that can be made by applying a process, and that learning this process is critical to making all important decisions in life, including those about career choices. So that's the topic for today. So what we're going to discuss today, state the educational requirements for entry into your top choice occupations, understand whole and six personality types and how they apply to picking your courses. So before we kick off for today's topic, I want to introduce the facilitators for today. We have Elizabeth Freeman, we have CJ Kim, and we have, Blaze Gussowitz. Did I say it right?
That's right.
I hope so. Okay, so if every one of you can tell us a little bit about yourself, why did you choose your career, your current career right now, your mission goals, what were you working, and why you're supporting, this nonprofit sector. Anything you can share with us about yourself today?
We can just go in order, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start because you said my name first. I'm Liz Friedman. We are not a diverse group with respect to our careers on this call today. All three of us are lawyers, and we are all part of the legal team at EXL. But maybe we all had different paths to getting there. So I think that would probably be something valuable to share. I became a lawyer after I started law school after being a teacher for 4 years. So that's always kind of cool for me to kind of take part in this call. I was a teacher for 2 years in the Bronx in high school, and then I was a teacher for 2 years in the Dominican Republic. And I think for me, the path that led me to becoming a lawyer was that I was kind of like a words person. In college, you choose major, and the major that I chose, I did like a Latin American history and literature major, and then my other major was communications. And so I think both of those things are like very words heavy kind of vocations. And from there, when I was a teacher, obviously I was doing like, I taught English and I taught Spanish, and I taught English as a second language. And so when I was doing that, I think it was also kind of putting me on that path. And then I think a lot of people who are lawyers are sometimes like, okay, I am a words person. What else can I be doing? And from there, that's kind of like how everybody kind of enters into law school. And so I think I would say that kind of like the path of deciding to be a lawyer started with kind of just loving books and loving words and loving communicating. And then from there, I was able to kind of take that down the path of teaching and then pivot to law eventually. But I spend all day working on words, writing disclosures and documents and contracts and, arguing sometimes. And then even within law, I would say that there's, you make little decisions about which path you're going to go down as a lawyer. And so I remember I was trying to choose if I wanted to be like a litigator, which is the people that you see on TV going to court, or if I wanted to be, kind of more of a corporate lawyer, which are the people that write the contracts. And I decided that my personality was less a personality where I wanted to be fighting all day long. I wanted to be more collaborative and be like working together with other people to build something. And so that's kind of how I chose to be a corporate lawyer. So that is me, and that is my backstory. Take it away, please.
Me or CJ?
I think you were next. Oh no, maybe CJ was next.
No, CJ was next. Go ahead, CJ.
Sure, and please ping me through chat if my connectivity gets to be on the fritz again. So hi everyone, I'm CJ. I am also part of the legal team at EXL. Let's see, I think, I first became interested in law school to follow my father's footsteps. He went to law school. He chose to be a diplomat, and for a long time, that's sort of what I had in mind. And law school was step one to that path. So I studied political science in college. I worked for the UN the year between college and law school. And that was, very valuable to me in that I was in a setting that I really enjoyed, but found that the work was, very slow. And, I was seeking something that was closer to, I guess, more business oriented. I wanted to, be closer to what was kind of at the forefront of, what's kind of happening within the macro world today, something more tangible. And like Liz, and like any other law student, you do have to choose between a litigation path versus a more of a transactional practice. And there again, having an experience clerking for a magistrate helped kind of form my decision towards transactional law. I also did not picture, being a prosecutor or, in a conflict-driven situation kind of day in and day out. So for me, that was a pretty simple choice. I enjoy being a transactional lawyer because I like working, in a global setting and being close to the business. I think what attracts me about law is I like understanding how things work. And, there's a big aspect of law that, I think you understand the world differently, from a different lens. And, you really can't go wrong, with a legal background. I think it could take you to many different places. So I also like the flexibility of having a legal education. So, in terms of practice, I entered into something that was very front and center for transactional lawyers practicing in New York. I try to focus my career more on technology than anything else, because again, I in my mind, that was something I wanted to be closer to, in terms of formulating a career path. And I think it's fortunate that, I'm at a company that, focuses on technology, and I am continuing to develop my career and learn new things every day. So with that, I'm going to turn it to you, Blaise.
Thanks, CJ. I'm obviously older than the other two attorneys here, but my path was slightly different. Back in high school, the girls cross country team adopted me for some reason and actually suggested way back when that I should be a lawyer. They put ads in the newspaper saying, Blaise, you should be a lawyer. I have no idea why, but I went to college, was a biology major, and following that, I worked in a hospital. That became very boring very quickly, so I went to law school while I worked, and then I graduated from law school. And unlike Liz and CJ, I became a lawyer because I love to argue. If it's sunny out, I'll argue with you and say it's raining. I have no problem doing that. And I was a litigator in a general practice for years and years and years. I fell into being one of the counsel for EXL, kind of on the back end of things. The company got bought and I went along with the company and ended up doing this. But it's a worthwhile endeavor if you want to become a lawyer. I know back in high school and college, I always heard the saying that a town that's too small for one lawyer can easily hold two lawyers. And that's because lawyers, except for some here, love to argue. And I'm one of those people. And it always works. And there's always room for good lawyers, no matter where you are or what you want to do. If you could do law, you learn a lot of different things. I've learned trucking. I've learned family stuff, divorces. I've learned about artwork. You learn all kinds of different things as a lawyer. And those are types of things that interest me. Rather than doing one particular item, I could do many different things over the course of my career. Dali, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Yes, that's awesome. And that's precisely what we are talking today, because definitely everyone has like different personalities in that, and whether you like to argue or you love to argue or not, or you want to pursue, your family's career, everybody has a different personality and everybody likes something different, right? And it's very, very important that you know what you like, what's your personality. And within your personality, there's a lot of careers that you can pursue, and maybe you don't know. Like, I don't know what do I want to pursue, but I do know that I like to argue, for example, like Blaise. So that could be something that you could pursue. Maybe you could be a lawyer. So that's going to be the topic for today. We're going to explore those kind of personalities, and that so that you can, assess yourself and see, okay, maybe I can go this way or that way. So I'm going to share my screen with you really quick so we can go to today's topic. So if you can give me a second, really quick. Okay. Let's go here. Let me know if you can see my screen. Yep. Awesome. So the topic for today, direct your future, charting your torso. Any one of you that you can take it away.
I'll be happy to start. So the objectives of the course is to allow you to understand what your educational requirements would be and what your choices are for your occupational selections. That will be handled initially, and then later on, we'll talk about Holland's 6 personality types. And I honestly don't know what those are, so I'll learn something as well. Move to the next slide. So the first area after high school that you can consider is an apprenticeship. Apprentices are in hundreds of different occupations, and many of them are for different areas, from carpentry work to electricians to in hospitals, different technical areas. And you would work as an apprentice for any length of time, a number of years, possibly for several years after that. And you're paid to do that after you've done your apprenticeship and you're qualified. Usually you have to take some type of test, and then you would become either a journeyman or a master, depending upon the type of work that you've chosen. And over that course, you get the skills that you need to do that work on a regular basis following that. There's lots of different areas that are interested or need apprentices, especially today. There's lots of work that can be done, and it's worthwhile checking into it if you're interested in doing those types of work. Another area is private or vocational schools. They kind of go hand in hand with apprenticeships, and they're more technical. They're not college, so you would learn welding, or you could learn to be an X-ray technician, for example, and you go to school for a few years. It's usually much shorter than the 4-year college degree. It could be 18 months. They tend to, you have to pay for those. You don't get paid to do them usually, but you do learn a trade, and more often than not, you would get right out of school, they would find you a job. So there's pretty easily to get a job soon after graduating from a private technical school. Another option is a local community college. There are advantages to community colleges. Number one, they're less expensive than 4-year colleges. The workload tends to be smaller because you can do it on a part-time basis if you need to. And it's advantageous because you can also use some of those credits from the community college. If you choose to go to a 4-year institution, then those carry over and the credits will carry over for you. They also have vocational technical areas in community colleges as well. So if you went to community college for VoTech, for nursing, for example, you go to community college for 1.5 years or 2 years, and you could have a nursing degree, so you can go and choose to work at that point as a nurse. There are many different options for those types of areas. All 3 areas, they're much in demand, the people that would take those areas today. Does anyone have anything to add?
Well, I guess I was just thinking when you were talking about apprenticeships, that as much as that's kind of like a lot of career paths are moving more towards using the apprenticeship model and bringing, young people on to learn a different, job or trade or skill set. That actually, I think used to be kind of the predominant way that people would find jobs. So, we were all talking about, oh, I went to law school, but I think back in the day, you would just, if you wanted to be a lawyer, you would just sit with a lawyer and learn from them. And so in a lot of ways, like apprenticeship and also, vocational technical school, it's, if your job is going to be a job where you do something, it's a lot of doing. So I think it's very experiential and helpful and interesting. So
I agree.
Yep.
Next
CJ,
slide.
you want to do this one?
Sure, happy to. So here's some other options post high school. As you know, as I'm sure you've heard, a very common option is the 4-year college option. I think about half of high school graduates currently start with the 4-year college option. The current statistic is that Out of those, half of them make it to graduation. But just look, from a number standpoint, a four-year college option is certainly, one of the major routes that are chosen. Within this category, there are three different kinds of institutions. First being a liberal arts college. Liberal arts colleges tend to be smaller than universities. The focus is more on the humanities, right? Arts, music, history, languages, English. It generally prepares you for really any endeavor, post the 4 years. So there's less of an emphasis on like a technical specialty, right? In a liberal arts college. Universities are much larger in scale. They're typically, subdivided by different schools within the institution. So, you have some freedom to really dive deeply into a particular school or take, various classes across different disciplines. State universities are a great example of a university type of institution. Then you have your technical institutes. I think probably the most famous one is, MIT or Caltech, just being, the most prominent, but there are many, many technical institutes out there. These tend to be more focused more on the technical fields, such as engineering, mathematics. And, if that's where your interest lies, this is a very great path for that. Another option is military service. So I know that, at my school, my 4-year college, which was a university, many people signed up to be ROTC. And, the added benefit with the military service option is that, there's a subsidy in terms of tuition, in exchange for a certain number of years of service. So an appealing option for that are looking for, that financial benefit, in terms of paying tuition, which, as you know, can be very high. You're also serving your country. So 2 birds. So, I think we've laid out just the, various options. Obviously, there are a lot of variety and flavor, size and scale within these various institutions. But this is just to get you thinking about it and thinking about, what your interests are and starting to line up, which options make sense for your areas of interest. Shall we advance to the next slide?
I think before we move on, CJ, I think I would like to add that it's not unusual for students beginning college or even joining the military to go in thinking they're going to want to do one thing, and within the first year, they're changing and doing something else. That's not unusual, and I think that's probably a good thing. You learn a little bit while you're there the first year, and then you realize that maybe that's not for me or something else is for me. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I think, I shared how I had like an initial career as a teacher, and Blaze shared also that he had an initial career working in a hospital. And so sometimes you choose something and it provides a foundation, but then you are presented with a number of paths and you can choose which door to go through. And the paths don't end right after college, like a decision you make in college or, a decision you make with respect to what kind of school you're choosing now or what classes you're taking in high school, that's not going to close every single door and give you only one path forward. There's always a lot of different options and you can always pivot. I don't know, CJ also shared before about how, she originally thought, I want to be a diplomat, and then, pivoted to being like, I actually am more interested in business. So I think those are all kind of good examples of how people can reinvent the direction they're taking their professional lives in multiple times over. And I think it's always good to think, like, just because you decided something doesn't mean you can't even go back to school and completely change your career. I have a number of friends who, did something for a long time and then switched jobs later on. So I think that's always an option.
It's always important to realize you have to have the background, and you have to leave the doors open for doing things. You can't just assume it's going to be handed to you. You have to do the work, no matter what it is, to give yourself options for the future, no matter what the future may hold. So.
Yeah. And I think, give yourself options, but also like, it's okay to just say, like, I'm going to just choose the thing that I'm interested in right now. And I'm going to pursue that wholeheartedly. And then if I change my mind down the road, it's not like I have closed myself off from, pursuing something different.
Right.
And so, when I graduated from college, I didn't have any plan aside from, I had an idea in my head that I thought it would be kind of like a worthwhile way to give back, to be a teacher for a couple of years. But I had a thought that I probably didn't want to do that forever, but I didn't really have a real plan beyond that. And I kind of developed my plan as I went. CJ, I think you're going to say something. Or not?
No, I was saying you guys raise great points. That this keeping options open, keeping yourself open to, it's a journey, they say, right? And you're not supposed to have figured everything out. And I think the openness, brings different opportunities and ideas. So, I think planning is important and taking a direction is important, but so is keeping your mind open and letting yourself, be guided by what interests you, continuing to explore what interests you is an important point.
Yeah. And also like talking to people, just saying like, hey, I think this is my plan right now, and sharing it with, people that you trust or people that you think have interesting ideas, and seeing, I'm going to say to them, I would like to do this, and see if they say, well, what about, that instead? And so I think sometimes that can help you see things that you might not have seen otherwise too, as you're trying to make these types of decisions. So.
Talking to people that do that kind of work helps as well. Talking to lawyers, for example, or talking to a welder, or talking to a doctor, or talking to a teacher. They may tell you good things or bad things about doing whatever it is you want to do. I think that's important too.
And if you can, even shadowing them, right? Visiting, or asking to shadow them for, a couple days, doing a free externship for, a few days on your vacation. I think every sort of real life experience, really, from my experience, has been very valuable, right? And something that you really can't get otherwise. So take advantage of any opportunity that, you have to visit a real work setting, or have that conversation with those in your field of interest.
Yeah, and I think that actually probably also would apply very well to when you're trying to select what kind of school you want to go to. Even if it's not the school that you think you want to go to, if you could visit the type of school, and like, I'm not sure where you all are watching from, but, we are in the, CJ and I are in the New York area, and Blaze is in Pittsburgh. There's a number of schools in all of these places that you could just kind of, go walk around, get a feel for it. You could pop into classes and watch the classes. You know, you could talk to some of the students and get a sense of who they are, what they're learning, you know, what their experience has been like, and, you know, see if that aligns with what you're envisioning for yourself.
I think that applies not only to college and universities, but it also applies to technical schools, vocational schools, apprenticeships. There's just outside of Pittsburgh, there's a carpentry school, and they'll happily take you and let you see what carpenters do, and they set you up with an apprenticeship, and those are all available across the board. All the educational institutions of whatever kind are always looking for people to enroll. So none of that should foreclose you from going to do any of those things. It's always available.
That's awesome. And just to go back to everything that you were saying is like, think about KFC. He started at 65 years old with his security check, and look where we are. So any experience that you have, like Elizabeth mentioned, you are creating that foundation for whatever your journey is going to take you. So I want to remind the students that are on that you can type any questions that you want in the chat box, any comments, and if you want to ask them something, they're here for you. So don't be afraid, you can type it up and they will happily answer any questions that you have today.
Yeah, we would love to answer some questions. Okay. So I think we're kind of going to pivot now into teaching Blaze about Holland's 6 personality types, since he was looking to learn something new today. So John Holland was a psychology researcher who thought that people have, you know, everybody knows people with different personality types. And he thought that, you know, you have a certain type of personality, you might work best with a specific type of job. And I think this kind of theory has kind of carried over to all sorts of things like, you know, you hear about like different people like having compatibility as friends, or, you know, having a different worldview based on their personality types. And so I think that, that, you know, this is a very interesting idea that he had, which is just basically like, take your personality, apply your personality to what kind of job might be best for you. And so according to this theory, most people are 1 or more of 6 personality types. So the different types are realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, or conventional. So we can move to the next slide to kind of go through what those are. So I'm gonna read through these, and then I think I'm gonna ask everyone on the call to, if they feel so inclined, share what you think best describes you, and you could choose 1 or 2 or more. But so a realistic person generally likes to work with things more than people, and would be described as genuine, practical, natural, modest, persistent, and honest. Social people, on the other hand, typically like to work with people more than with things. And so usually they are described as helpful, understanding, responsible, warm, cooperative, convincing, friendly, generous, patient, kind. In investigative people, they like to work more with ideas than with people or things. And they're described as logical, curious, exact, intellectual, cautious, independent, quiet, and modest. Enterprising are people who like to work with people and ideas more than with things, described as outgoing, adventurous, energetic, optimistic, sociable, and self-confident. And then artistic, they like ideas more than things, and maybe, concepts, creativity, described as open, creative, independent, emotional, impulsive, and original. And conventional are people who like to work with papers and numbers and are practical and careful and orderly, and organized and persistent. So I think let's do a poll, and I'll ask everybody who's on the call, including my co-facilitators and also Dolly, to please type into the box which category or categories you think most apply to you. And don't worry if you don't have like all of these descriptors. I think you can say like, oh, I'm, people usually say that I'm friendly and generous, but not necessarily patient. So.
I put mine in the chat box, but I read it while we'll wait for some of the students that are here that can put that in the chat box. I'm a mix. I'm a realistic, enterprising, and artistic. So there's some days that I don't want to work with people, and there's some days that I want to be in the cameras. I want to be out there. So for me, it will depend. So what I do, it allows me to do that, allows me to work with people, to be here in the camera. I love to do this. And then there are some times that I'm just creating on my own. So yes, so that's very important to find that balance. So for me, I think I'm a mix of those, definitely.
That's interesting. Yeah, when I was reading the background on these categories, it said, a lot of them can like lend themselves to people who, would describe themselves as either introverted or extroverted. And it's true, because like you could be both introverted and, like an enterprising person, or you could be, extroverted and conventional. So it's not that you would like having one of these characteristics would mean that you wouldn't need that time alone to create necessarily, and also potentially be very social and outgoing. So I also think it's interesting that I'm seeing that Blaze and CJ and I all kind of like chose the same path, and we have one trait in common, but the rest of them are not.
The same couple.
Yeah, or I guess you have enterprising too. But
I had a hard time choosing because I'm not really sure I fit in any of them very well. All I know is I'm not artistic. That's out.
Yeah, I had a hard time picking a particular one as well. And I don't really neatly fit into any of the three, but I think I'm just a mix of, some traits described in each of the three. Whenever I answer one of these, I have too many questions, because I think I'm naturally, I think by nature, I think I'm closest to artistic, but in reality, I'm more the other two. So it's like nature versus nurture also.
Yeah, I hear that too. Some of those life paths you chose led you to being more enterprising. Right.
We have Danique, that one of the students that answered that she's realistic.
Yeah, I saw that. And so she stands out by being kind of the only realistic person here, right? So maybe we should switch to the next slide, and we can kind of go through, what they said some of the options are. And I wonder how well those fit with the types that we identified ourselves as. So for realistic, for Danique says auto body repair, auto mechanics, building and construction trades, carpentry, culinary arts, drafting, electrical construction, electronics, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, heavy equipment, landscape design, manufacturing, masonry, printing, and welding. I wonder, Danique, you can feel free to unmute and join the conversation if you'd like, or if you want to just chat into the box if any of these things align with what you see for yourself in the future.
No, they don't.
do you have any
work in
ideas?
any of those?
No, I wouldn't do something in the medical field.
Okay.
I think that actually, though, like culinary arts and carpentry and building and all of those things actually kind of do align with medicine. Like, I mean, maybe if you're like, you know, I don't know what exactly the medical field you want to do, but if you're doing stitches or if you're a surgeon, you need to have those like very tactical skills. And so I feel like that some of this stuff actually does kind of maybe line up with what you're envisioning for yourself too.
Yeah, I mostly want to work with pediatrics. So
Yeah. Well, as somebody who visited a pediatrician today, I can say that they are definitely very hands-on too. So, so I think that that personality trait will probably serve you well. Okay, so then the next category is investigative. Algebra, biology, biomedical science, calculus, chemistry, computer programming, physiology, environmental science, geometry, physics, statistics, and trigonometry. And apparently also law.
Yeah. Look, I noticed that law's not listed on any of these categories.
I'm warning people off. It's also funny because it's like algebra, that's not like, you wouldn't think of that as like necessarily a career, right? That would be like something you would study as like foundational and maybe use that to get into something else, medicine, economics, something like that. Engineering.
Unless you're a professor or teacher.
Unless you're a professor, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other observations on that one? No, let's move on. Artistic. Art, being in a band or a chorus, digital arts, drama, interior design, music theory, photography, textiles and fashion, video production, and web design. I think this one's actually funny because like interior design is under artistic, but on the prior slide, landscape design was under realistic. And so I think that one kind of illustrates how you could pursue these different careers that are very similar, you know, by claiming different traits.
There's some overlap at all of them, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then for social, child development, so that might also tie into the pediatrics, cosmetology, economics, that's interesting that wasn't in investigative, emergency service technology, family relations, psychology, and social science. Next slide. And then for enterprising, international relations, that's like CJ right there, business organization and management, English composition, marketing and sales and speech. And then the last one, conventional, is bookkeeping, computer programming, database management, HTML, office applications, and word processing.
It's funny.
So they almost sort of break it down into courses and,
yeah.
Sorry, Elise, go ahead.
No, go ahead, CJ.
Oh, it was just an observation that, you know, these bullet points sound more like kind of course descriptions than like actual careers. And, you know, maybe this is a good way to kind of identify for those that are, you know, pondering the big question, what courses do I enjoy?
Yeah, I think that's very good observation, that if you don't like to do something, it's kind of pointless to go in that direction. Sometimes you have to, but if you can avoid it, it's a good idea to avoid it. It's funny, computer programming is both in conventional and investigative. wonder how that came about.
Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You have to be like somebody who's very like formulaic and thinks in a programmed way, I guess. And then also somebody who's willing to figure out what issues are present as you're programming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So I think that concludes the slideshow, but
Yep.
I guess Danique, do you have any questions that you want to ask us or any thoughts that you have?
I do have a question. Would it be like okay if you want to go to a 4-year college, but also a 2-year college? If that makes sense, like, would it be like, okay, if it's going to take a longer time to get to where you want to get?
Usually people go to the 2-year college first and then the 4-year college after. If it's for example, a community college,
Yeah.
you can earn credits that apply to the 4-year degree. So you spend the 2 years at the community college, pay less money, get what you need, and then you transfer over as a junior into the 4-year college. So you're really spending 4 years, but you saved yourself a good bit of money.
Yeah.
And you've spent your money on things to discover what you want to do less expensive. How do I put this? So you go to a 4-year college and you're spending hundreds of dollars of credit, and you find you don't like it after you've been there a year. Where if you can spend $50 of credit in a community college, so you determine what you want to do, and it costs you less money to do it. So that may be the way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you get a degree from a community college. Oh, sorry, go ahead, CJ.
No, Liz, you are more on point, and I was going to make a different point on your question, Danique. So Liz, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that you do get a degree after the 2-year college. You get an associate's degree usually, and then you can still transfer over to the college, and it's as if you had just pursued the first half of your bachelor's degree. So you can also get the bachelor's degree. You wind up with 2 for the price of 1.
Yep.
But question. So you'll still get the bachelor's degree, but you're still going for 2 years.
So you do your first 2 years at the 2-year college, get your associate's degree, and then you transfer and go to the 4-year college, and you can get the bachelor's degree in just 2 years at the 4-year college. So it's 4 total, but 2 and 2.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, CJ.
I also just getting back to, sometimes you have to pivot, right? Because what you initially pick is not what you end up wanting to do, right, as a career. I have 2 examples in my immediate family. My sisters both went to 4-year colleges and then wanted to pursue fashion design. So they did 4 years of a liberal arts school and then went to 2 years at Parsons School of Design, right? So you can also do it the other way. But, that just gets back to there are many different paths. I think the important thing is to have a direction and plan for that. But again, be open to things that you learn along the way, and that may lead you to a different direction.
Yeah. And I guess to that point, in your case, like, that you want to be in pediatrics. So you kind of have an idea of where to go, but maybe there are other people listening in. If you know that your career path is that you really want to be like a hairstylist. I have a friend who did a 4-year college and then wanted to be a hairstylist, and then she had to go to cosmetology school after that. So you know, maybe instead of going to the 4-year college, you start at cosmetology school, and then you can see if that's a good fit for you, because sometimes like it doesn't, you know, it's not a wrong choice if you're studying something that you're interested in, but you know, it could be an expensive choice to do a 4-year college if you ultimately want to pursue a different type of career that doesn't require a 4-year college.
Okay,
When-
thank you.
Could you say it again? Renata?
No, saying thank you.
When I worked in the hospital, there was a physician that wanted to be an actress. So to me, that was insane, but she wanted to get out of being a doctor and go to Hollywood and be an actress. So there's all kinds of options. People do different things and change their mind at any given stage of their life.
Yes, and you know, we have time. I think
Exactly.
that we can accomplish anything that we want to if we just plan and like all they said, like talk to people. If you want to be a lawyer, talk to a lawyer, ask them what it takes. Are you, and then ask the question, am I willing to do what it takes? And if not, then keep pursuing, because everybody have different personalities, different type of things that you like. So take this to your heart and not just keep the information, just apply it. Go to the schools, go to the technical colleges, universities, talk to the professor, talk to the students, talk to the professionals, shadow them. That was one of the, you know, the tips that they gave you today. And then, you know, if you start something, don't think that you are losing your time, because that's experience. Like Elizabeth mentioned, like that's the foundation that you have for the next thing that you're going to do. So everything in life, all the knowledge that you got today, you will take it with you wherever you go. It doesn't matter if it's here in the United States, if you go to another country, all the knowledge, you're taking it with you for the next thing that you're going to do. Very important. Get the information, plan, and take action. So thank you so much, Blaze, CJ, Elizabeth, for being here today and facilitate this session for today. Is very, very valuable information. So remember, share this information with someone that you know that is in middle school, in high school, that is through that path, you know, choosing their career, they don't know what to do. This information would get them unstuck for sure. So our next Career Lounge Live will be on March 14th, next week, writing your personal logbook. So remember, invite a youth. So special thanks to Career Lounge Live sponsor, EXL, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. If you want to learn more about EXL, go to www.exl.com. So thank you so much again to our sponsors, that because of you, we are able to bring this to the youth at no cost. So before we go, I don't know if you guys want to add something else.
No, just thank
Dali,
you.
I just wanted to say it's exlservice.com. That's all.
exlservice.com. I'm sorry, I don't know what I
That's
said.
okay.
exlservice.com. And you go there if you want to learn more information. So again, thank you so much for being here with us today, for facilitating this session, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.